Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's ATARC webinar series. ATARC stands for the Advanced Technology Academic Research Center. ATARC facilitates collaboration between government, industry, and academia to accelerate technology modernization initiatives. And ATARC provides ongoing opportunities for cross-agency collaboration through on-site interactions like this one, learning opportunities like we'll have today, and market research. My name's Jonathan Albaum, and I'm the Federal CTO for ServiceNow, and I have the pleasure of moderating today's panel on artificial intelligence. Before joining ServiceNow, I worked in the federal government for many years as a chief information officer, and throughout my career, I saw the introduction of a lot of different technologies. And whether it was the introduction of cloud or ideas around big data or mobile computing, I don't think any technology that I saw come in had the potential to transform government nearly as much as artificial intelligence. Now, over the past couple years, the government agencies have been required to appoint chief AI officers. We've established AI governance boards. We've created AI inventories. And I think there's a real focus inside the federal government on introducing AI and generative AI in a way that creates trust, reducing the risk that artificial intelligence can introduce into an agency's operation service delivery. We want to do this the right way. And I think it's really clear that artificial intelligence is going to be a big part of the incoming administration. They're going to be seeking to create real efficiencies and drive costs out of government by improving processes and leaning into making good decisions based on our data and what our data is telling us. So there's a lot for us to talk about today. Now, before we begin, I want to encourage everybody in the audience to submit questions in the Q&A section of this platform. And I also have some polling questions that we'll be sharing throughout the presentation. So please participate so you can receive your CPE credits at the end. I'm joined by four excellent AI colleagues to share their vision for the way artificial intelligence is going to be transforming and is already taking hold in their agencies. We're going to talk about some of the successes they've had, some of the challenges we see ahead, and the way that AI can really change how people interact with their government. So I'd like for all of our panelists to introduce themselves now. So as I call your name, please share a little bit about your background and some of the work that you've been doing on AI so far. So let's start with Nicholas Rappold. And Nicholas is the Information Systems Security Officer at the National Weather Service. That's part of NOAA. Nicholas, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Some of the work we've done in agency, if you're looking for just a short blurb, I'm the Eastern region, ISSO for Weather Service, and a lot of what we've been looking at is how can we use it, how can we get more involved, how can we leverage the possibility of using AI to increase productivity, but also agency-wide, in broader ways for translations, development, and working on increasing, probabilistic forecasts. What could AI do to help make life easier and make it more productive along the way?
Great, Nicholas, thanks for being here. I look forward to hearing your thoughts throughout the day. Next, I want to invite Noah Ringler, who's the AI advisor at the Office of Strategy and Policy and Plans at DHS, to share with us a little bit about your background and some of the AI work you've already been working on.
Thanks, Jonathan, and great to be here. So I'm Noah. I am the senior civil servant on AI policy at DHS. At the moment, been here about 2 years, and prior to that was at Treasury, implementing AI systems and machine learning models on financial data, and working to implement these systems in government, and now working to leverage those insights into the emerging policy landscape that we've seen develop over the past year, including drafting a few sections of the executive order on AI last year. So look forward to talking more about what DHS is up to.
Great. Thanks, Noah. Next, we have Brian Vu, who is the program manager of the Office of Information Technology category. It's part of the Federal Acquisition Service at GSA. Brian, welcome.
Hey, thank you. And glad to be here with everybody else on the panel. I'm really excited to talk about AI. So yeah, I'm a program manager within the Office of Information Technology category in the Federal Acquisition Service here at GSA. And so kind of what we do is we basically manage contract vehicles. We help the government acquire these emerging technologies. And since we're talking about AI today, I'm looking forward to kind of sharing what we've done to kind of help the entire federal government, think about considerations for your acquisition strategy when you're acquiring technologies like AI. What are some considerations to think about when you're going out to vendors and you're talking to vendors, and what are some things you need to do internally to kind of come up with a good strategic plan to acquire those types of technologies. So looking forward to the conversation.
Great, thank you, Brian. And last but certainly not least is Rudolph Rojas from the Department of Agriculture, works in the Farm Production and Conservation Mission area. Rudolph, welcome.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. Welcome, everybody. Yes, I work, as Jonathan stated, with the Farm Production and Conservation Group out of USDA. It's a conglomeration of 4 specific agencies out of the 7 that comprise USDA. And so while we wrap up to the USDA CIO headquarters in Washington, D.C., we do have our own kind of tracks going on in terms of implementation of AI, machine learning, and robotic process automation. So I deal mainly with security and infrastructure management of the agency websites and applications that are hosted at the Digital Infrastructure Service Center in Kansas City, which hosts not only USDA applications, but Farm Service, Forest Service, and also agencies that provide pay and so forth for U.S. government agencies. So our purview is to maintain security. So we're trying to leverage AI in terms of security operations to protect our properties and our applications, and also to get the tools out to our users out in the field. And so USDA at this point is implementing some state office centers of excellence where AI will be implementing, and we'll be taking scenarios and doing tests on AI implementations, at a pilot type level. So we're starting out headlong into it, and hoping to learn quite a bit from all my colleagues on the call here. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Rudolph, and for everybody. And I love the fact that we have such a diversity of agency missions represented, from what you do with farmers and ranchers, and a place like USDA touches everybody's life in a meaningful way. We all eat, to Homeland Security, to the weather, to helping agencies get what they need. We have the makings of a really great panel and a lot of perspectives. I want to begin by talking about the mission use cases, right? As I'm saying, the missions that we have here are amazing. And no, you touched, Nicholas, you touched on this at the beginning of your remarks about this probabilistic weather forecasting and the way NOAA's been using AI to support this really important part of their mission. Can you tell the audience about this project and give some perspective on what the agency may have learned and how you've used this technology?
Yeah, no, sure. I'd love to. Some of the stuff is in development and on the test side, right? What can we do with these tools? How can these tools, propel the mission forward? Get forecasts out there easier, right? I mean, you see it in the news now. A lot of these AI tools they're very good, these LLMs, at taking in lots of information and then coming out with some sort of output. And some of the new GenCast stuff that's been out in the news, it definitely raises the question of how can we compete, or how can we use it to also aid our mission. So we do have some test bed systems where we're looking into AI tools now. Again, mostly on the development side, how does this work? What could it do for us, and what could it do with some of the data that we already have? But some of the AI stuff that we have now that's already making a difference, and it seems maybe small at first, but it has been a time saver and has given us the access to help us reach our customer base. If you look at, like, say, New York City area, our office is putting out a forecast to dozens of languages, right? There's a lot of different languages being spoken and read. NOAA is now using AI tools to try to help translate quickly a forecast to reach our customers. So we're using AI tools right now in language, just doing translations, and it looks like it's, normally it might take 45 minutes for someone to go through and translate by hand, personally. The AI tool cut that down to about 3 to 5 minutes. It can quickly translate to a variety of languages, and NOAA continues to expand that.
Thank you. Those are great examples, and I'd like to pivot back to, we talked about NOAA. I'd like to go to NOAA and talk about the Homeland Security space, AI use cases you're seeing, and the way it's impacting the mission.
Sure. Tried not to get too confused about the acronym NOAA versus the person NOAA here. I think across DHS, we're seeing a lot of eagerness around adoption, and that's why we wanted to make sure that we were one of the earliest movers on building a governance and oversight program. We had our internal policy and oversight process set up last September and fully implemented in 2023, and we think that process is more stringent even than a lot of the requirements that have come out since from OMB and others. And that's because we have a lot of critical safety and security missions, and we interact with a lot of different folks, whether it's travelers via TSA, folks crossing the border, goods crossing the borders. And we wanted to make sure that the AI systems that we're deploying are reliable. Once we had those systems in place, we've begun to scale up and make sure that different program management teams have access to the budget, talent, and program acquisitions that they need in order to take those programs forward. And I believe next week we'll publish in-depth and updated, up-to-date set of use cases, nearing 200 different programs that are fielding AI, whether that is assisting folks that are scanning containers that are crossing into the United States, helping manage traffic at airports, detecting of fentanyl and other materials through other analysis of synthetic scanners. There is a very, very wide range of different programs, and not to mention a bunch of internal analytics programs that help move paperwork internally and make sure that things get to the right people. So a tremendous amount of programs that will be published on the 16th in-depth, and look forward to folks digging into those.
Yeah, I was hearing about a set of use cases just the other day from some other folks at the Department of Homeland Security, and I know it's going to be an impressive list, and it's going to be fascinating to see the uses of AI and whether or not there is information in there for other agencies to use, because sometimes we have these overlapping missions and we have the ability to take solutions from one agency to another. So I'm really curious how agencies may be able to learn from each other as these inventories are published in the coming days. So I want to pause for a second and have our first polling question shared. So, we were hearing about how these agencies are moving forward on their journey. To our audience, where's your organization in its journey, from not having done anything yet to really getting value? Love to see where these responses come in. And Brian, as that's happening, I'd like to pivot to you for a second and talk about this idea of acquiring these technologies. And I suspect that agencies are, in various stages of doing so. Talk a little bit about what your kinds of conversations are with agencies as they're interacting with your office and they seek to acquire artificial intelligence technologies.
Yeah, so one thing I just like to mention is I just want to give a little bit of context of how kind of what we do when we deal with emerging technologies like AI. And so, as an organization, we want to understand how this new cutting edge stuff that isn't quite out there or widely adopted, right? But it could transform the IT tools or the resources that agencies rely on. And we've seen the significant advancements, right, in AI and how they kind of drive that accelerated pace of change in government IT systems. And so what our focus is we try to help the acquisition community by understanding and procuring these emerging technologies like AI, and we try to anticipate the impact on the public sector. And so the big thing we do is collaboration, right? So collaboration is a big key in our success and understanding, what is AI going to be used for in the government? How are different agencies are going to use it? We have so many agencies, so many missions, and we're trying to make sure that the solution that we're managing over here could be used by those agencies. And so, so some of the collaboration efforts, right, is working with NIST and CISA, right? They're producing good guidance and standards about AI. So using those standards to help us find a good make or modify a good acquisition vehicle. Strategically engaging with industry leaders, right? We need to stay on top of how AI is changing. AI changes every day. There's always something new that we learned about AI has done. And then most importantly, working with the agencies, because working with NOAA or working with USDA or working with a lot of these agencies that they work with GSA, we get to know their mission more. We get to know someone more of their activities, and then we can kind of better strategically think, do our contract vehicles that we have here at GSA, are they able to provide the solutions that these agencies are looking for? And so I think always just having conversations and relationships with our agency partners and with our industry partners, staying on top of what's out there.
So
is kind of
Brian, I think it's so, what I take from that answer that's, so I think inspiring to me is that you guys are being very inclusive in the conversation, from industry partners to agencies to academia to NIST to others. How do people get engaged in that process with your office if they want to share their thoughts and perspective on AI? I'm sure we have a lot of people in the audience that would like to consider.
Yeah, so I guess let me just highlight one recent activity we've done. And so one activity we've recently just done is we actually developed a generative AI acquisition resource guide, and that was a really huge collaborative effort, right? We've had agency collaboration, we had industry collaboration within, and then we even had cross-functional collaboration within our organization, right? And so when we kind of talk about technology, right, there's always three questions I think comes to mind is, what is the technology? So we ask ourselves, what is AI, right? And then the second question is, how do we use it? Is it going to bring value to our organization? And then the third question is the best question that we like to answer is, how do you get it, right? I wanted that technology in my hands. And so we came up with this guide, and we asked questions to help the acquisition workforce, right, to navigate the unique aspects and complexities of procuring these AI technologies. And so, some of the things we kind of talk about are in that guide is, think about what you're trying to do with AI, right? First, we have to figure out, are you just buying AI just because it may be the hype to say, or is there actual value that you can determine? And then when you kind of decide how much value you can get from AI, think about cost, think about budget, think about resources. Or do you have the correct workforce, or do you have the correct budget, or do you have the right resources and tools? Do you have stakeholder buy-in? And then after that, the third part is when you come to us, right? When you come to us with all of that information, you have, what you need, your objective, you have your goals, you have your timelines. Then we can kind of help the agencies kind of come up with best practices with acquisition strategy, figure out the best contract vehicles they could use to get those capabilities. And sometimes they may be getting a specific AI product that they want, but sometimes maybe you're just looking for something that has AI enhanced capabilities, right? So when you're thinking about like cybersecurity, right? When you're thinking about procuring cybersecurity products, maybe you're not technically procuring like just AI, but maybe you want a cybersecurity product that has AI enhancements. Or same thing with network operations.
That's a lot for everyone to think about. I'm glad that there's an avenue to get to your office in order to have that kind of conversation, because for an agency buyer, it's a really critical service to be led through that kind of thought process. And Rudolph, I want to turn to you and see how some of the things that Brian was just sharing, from thinking about the what you're trying to accomplish and how that might drive your purchases. How's that influencing that kind of thinking, influencing the AI work at FPAC, and to the extent that you can, talk about it, USDA as a whole?
Yeah, so that's really great that you brought that up, because I am doing some acquisitions right now. We're doing some acquisitions on some contract support, and it's a very sizable contract, and we have to pour through, say, over 100 requests for information, before we even put out the RFP. So it's very tedious work. traditionally we just gone through and our team would just read through them, take notes, put together a spreadsheet, and determine some qualifications that would make them agreeable or would put them in a further state for further analysis to see whether they would be a good fit. So we're trying to see if we can use AI tools to kind of pull out keywords, pull out key variables and qualifications that would really put them in a stead to really be successful in this RFP. That said, we're also looking at different contract vehicles, and so knowing what the best ones would be through GSA and maybe Brian's team would also reduce our time and make sure that we're getting the best value for our money. But that said, money's tight in USTA too, and so management's trying to be judicious in buying applications. For example, I'll give you one example is in the Teams video conferencing and meeting software. There's a product called Copilot where you can do artificial intelligence type problem solving, create meeting minutes and so forth. We're trying to get that implemented too, so we can reduce the time it takes to create reports and meeting minutes, that type of thing. So that's one area. Then we're actively using it now to kind of parse through remedy tickets or the ServiceNow type tickets that would direct them in an intelligent way to the appropriate authority or the person that's going to be addressing those tickets. So, there are a lot of things you can do with the AI tools. Getting people trained on that is kind of one of the challenges we have now, and making sure that our workforce, which may not be aware of all the AI capabilities at this point, is trained and able to use that. So
that's a great point, and we're going to dig into that in a second. This idea of workforce and training. Before we do that, I just want to refer back to the polling questions that were shared. And Tara, if you could pull those up just again for just everyone. It's really interesting because there's almost an even division. Nothing from not getting started to getting value. So wide range of responses here. So it's going to be intriguing to see how this evolves over time. I suspect we're going to see a lot more value over time, but it's very important, when we are making these acquisition considerations, talking about acquisitions as Brian and Rudolph just words, I'd encourage everybody to go back to this idea of what are we trying to accomplish, with this technology. And if we're trying to improve a particular process, like maybe it's an acquisition process, or maybe it's FOIA, maybe it's some other service delivery requirement, the AI can make it better. But to everybody out there, if you don't know what your baseline is, and you don't understand what that process looks like today, it's going to be very difficult after that procurement, after you've bought that technology and you've implemented, to be able to demonstrate the improvement. So as you're thinking about these projects, the new cool technology, but the old ideas of understanding your current state still apply. And don't forget that, because showing value is one of the most important things that I think we do as technology leaders, whether we're in government or industry. So that aside, I want to go back to Noah, not the Noah, but Mr. Noah. And Noah, from your experience at DHS, what are some of the challenges and real roadblocks that agencies have experienced as they try and implement these technologies?
Yes, thank you. I think we've seen it a number of ways, right? So I think that, you're absolutely right, that you need to start with a problem that real people are having and follow that demand signal. If you start from a capability or a vendor trying to offer you a capability that isn't matched up with a problem set that a real team of people are having, or you match a tool to that problem set and the end user, the folks that are deploying that system, aren't seeing value, you need to listen very closely to that demand signal and make sure that you either change the system, modify the system, or look for a new way of doing business. I think we've also seen in the oversight process, as well as some of the governance processes, looking at what are the additional intended or unintended effects, and where are we seeing reliability issues, and where are we seeing issues with the benchmarks and the monitoring that we're doing for a system. We've seen clear limitations and the need to make sure that we have made explicit what the limitations of a system are so that it doesn't get used in unintended ways, so there isn't misuse. And that's really important also in our communication with the public about how we are being safe and responsible with these technologies. So I think these things all go hand in hand. You're delivering much more value if you're aligned across the AI ecosystem and the value chain, and that also helps eliminate some of the challenges. But we definitely don't want to have solutions in search of problems.
Great point. And Nicholas, at NOAA, what are the challenges that you're seeing? Are they similar, or do you see things differently somehow?
No, I think very similar, right? And it's a change management process, right? You want to get a request for something, you want to have a clear justification. Why do you need this tool to meet this need? I think AI, it's everywhere, right? AI is everywhere now, and it's a shiny new thing, and everybody wants it. And you see it with like Slack has AI built in, but it's different when you're using something like a ChatGPT or a tool like that. But what we found, I think, for us, in the wider spectrum, is it's readily available, right? To our end users, a tool like ChatGPT or Gemini or Copilot is equally accessible to them as Google is. And working in IT, we joke around, at least I joke around that being good at using Google search has always helped me do IT better, right? If I know, you know what you're looking for, being good at knowing how to use prompts or to utilize the tool, you get more out of it, and we're trying to look at getting some ideas from the field. What are your ideas? How can we use it to increase productivity? How can we do better with it? Not just because it's AI, but how does this tool increase productivity? But trying to get more people to understand and get that training out there.
Well, this is the second or third time that the workforce has come up in the conversation, and they need to be ready. So you mentioned change management, which I love, because too often change management gets overlooked. We'll roll out a technology and expect people to use it, and the agency or organizations can value because you finished the project. Well, without the change management, it can be very, very difficult. So, Rudolph, at USDA, what kinds of training activities have you seen, or what other activities have you been involved in to get the workforce ready for AI? And is the workforce ready? Is there more to do?
Well, there's always room for improvement, right? And so since we've been kind of actively pursuing this for several years now as part of the USDA strategy, which is like a 3-year looking forward strategy plan, of action that we OCIO and USDA uses to kind of map out their roadmap for development of AI strategy. That's kind of been a plan to upskill and train our workforce that needs that type of functionality. And so what they're doing is, they're making it available to users in their performance plans or annual performance plans that they're required to create, and talk to their managers about their interests in it and what would be a good pursuit of a program or of study and training. Now we have a training program called AgLearn, which is enterprise wide, where everybody can go in and create their performance plan, and they can actually look up courses that they would like to take to advance their interests. So we're encouraging, or management, my manager, for example, is encouraging us to get up to speed on artificial intelligence, robotic process automation, and those kinds of machine learning issues. Now, also what USDA is doing at a higher level is they're also hosting interactive sessions where they'll do robotic process automation sessions with users who are interested. So they'll send out these mails to people. They can elect to join, and then they'll go through a process of building a robotic process automation for an item that was, that could be enhanced, make it easier to use through the process of.
I think that's such a wonderful idea. Those hands-on workshops get people comfortable with these technologies. And what I really love about that is, you're taking something that's been traditionally a IT requirement. You can put this power in the hands of a program office. And the CIO office, technology office, does not have to be a bottleneck through which all things pass. If you set up the right governance, you have good guardrails, you can put these great technologies out there, and people can, in programs, to understand the data and the business process, can use them to get more efficient, very quickly. So I think it's really encouraging what you're describing, Rudolph. I want to, go to the other side of this workforce readiness and AI ready workforce conversation. We've been talking about take your current workforce and get them ready. Noah Ringler at DHS, you guys have been, maybe the best in the federal government at bringing AI resources from industry into government, talking about the AI core. And I'd love for you to, one, explain what this is to the audience, and then talk a little bit about how they're having an impact in the agency.
Sure. And yeah, I would say it's a close competition with DoD, definitely. But because we and DoD have abilities to manage our own hiring grades, we have some ability to set up these specific programs, and we have leaned all the way into it for AI. We think there's no way to do this work and deliver the value that AI can deliver without getting some of the best talent for the market. And it's been really fortuitous that it's been an environment where a lot of dedicated folks want to come in and do mission-driven work across the organization. And we've worked our fantastic recruiting team for the AI Corps has worked with folks to see what missions they're most interested in and sort of pair them with those projects and also allow them some flexibility. We have ability for folks in the AI Corps to do 6-week projects, 1-year project, permanently become part of a team. And we want to make sure that we can keep these top experts engaged and delivering value across the organization, not put them in one office together. We think it makes sense to plug them into existing teams and have them multiply the capabilities. So we've onboarded about 44 of these folks, from most of them from industry, top tech companies, but also performers from many different backgrounds. And we're really excited about what they're already able to do, both at the pilot level and at the enterprise scale in the organization. And these are all GS-15s, by the way, because we've tried to match salaries with the private sector. And, we are essentially creating a new category of folks that can come in at a very high level and with a competitive salary and begin contributing really quickly.
Now, certainly this program has gotten a lot of attention, and I don't know that the authorities that you're describing at DHS are completely unique to DHS. I think some of these exist in other agencies in different forms. I will note for the audience that I was in a conversation with the Office of Personnel Management and also Executive Office of the President the other day, and this idea specifically DHS AI Corps came up. And it was described as part of a broader pursuit of tech teams that can be created by agencies that desire to bring in tech talent from industry. And if anybody in the audience is interested in learning about this, you can go to the Office of Personnel Management, Quality Management Office for HR, or the HR line of business, and they can help navigate these programs for you and your agency to dive into these talent pools. It makes a difference. There's two-prong attack to getting the right workforce. One, what we've talked about already, get people trained, like Rudolph was talking about at USDA, and get training for people, upskill, but also use these experts who want to serve these great missions we're talking about to make the government better, to make an impact maybe that you can't always make in industry. So we got to pursue both avenues to get as much value as we can in this technology and create the government that we're expected to. And there is, I mentioned the incoming administration briefly in the introduction, and there's very clearly a sentiment that the new teams are going to come in and they're going to want to really hunt down cost savings opportunities. And I think my experience, these things are going to come from creating more efficiencies in government agencies, going to come from having a better, creating more visibility into the way agencies operate, visibility into assets and other things agencies use to complete their work, and using our data to make really good decisions. And we, of course, we've started down these paths already, but this idea of AI at the core of really efficient processes, at the core of visibility and intelligence driven decision making, will make a big difference, I think, in how we go about our work over the next period of time. And this ties into a question that we got from the audience that I want to share, and we'll open it up to everyone. But the question is, how can agencies deploy these AI technologies to make it easier for people who are interacting with government to really understand how to navigate different requirements and regulations? And I think this is a great question, because people look at government and they see it's very complex. Our programs can be complex. We've had this complexity over time, and for good reasons. But now it can be hard to interact with government. So I'm curious if any of you have ideas about how AI can make government simpler for the people we serve, for the public, for the taxpayer. I don't know who wants to start. I'll offer it first to Nicholas if you have some ideas.
Just the first thing that comes to mind, and it may not directly answer the question, but I use, like, for myself, ChatGPT and Gemini almost as much as I use Google, and I have found it to be extremely useful to take policy, memos, executive orders, and you can run it through and say, digest this for me, break it down into, what are the 5 most important points, what are the action items, and it's helped for quickly digesting policy documents. You want to do a little quality assurance, right? Make sure it's accurately reflecting what's in the document, but it's something that I found quick and easy to digest memos, memorandums, anything you're getting outside, help you describe it to another person. Right now, if I take that information and I got to explain it to my management team or to employees, I have a starting point. I didn't have to spend all day reading through legalese and trying to figure out what does it mean, what was the intent, and I personally found it quite useful in getting a jump start on that sort of thing. But maybe what I think William was looking for maybe is more of an embedding of technology, but I think these tools could also help with just quickly digesting and generating smaller, manageable bits.
I'm interested to hear some of the other ideas the panelists have. One that jumps to mind for me is, well, there's a lot of programs in government that serve the same person. Rudolph, I'm thinking about some of the farm programs you have at USDA. That same farmer or rancher might also be a veteran. They're a small business owner. Maybe they have a child that needs a loan for college. I'm talking, so you have small business, you have a small business program opportunities. You have, federal student aid opportunities. You have farm program opportunities, maybe veteran opportunities. And, it's all the same individual, but historically those are, different agencies and different programs. And I'm wondering if AI could somehow help me as the citizen navigate the vast number of programs. I'm not looking for an answer from the panelists, just throwing out this idea that there's opportunities like that. And, I'm curious, Rudolph, if inside the Department of Agriculture, you're thinking about how you make connections for your same customers across either different farm programs or other opportunities, or other ways you think AI can support the public in this manner.
I would say absolutely, Jonathan. For example, I'll give you an instance of there is the farm loan program, right? That provides loans and grants to farmers, ranchers, producers. And some of the work can be very tedious on the back end. You have to go into a county office or a state office, or you can do it online, but quite tedious process. And if there's a way to streamline that, and I know that's the plan is to make it easier and much more less time consuming to do these applications, so that it's not as frustrating. You can find out pretty quickly whether you're going to qualify or whether you're able to get that funding. That would definitely streamline a lot of the processes, and you would not maybe even have to go into the county office or state office. We have 50, right, a minimum of 50 state offices where maybe you wouldn't have to do that anymore. So you're saving energy, you're saving time, improving the whole process.
I know that I always heard it when I spent time at USDA. Farmers want to farm. They want to be in the fields. They want to be doing work on the farm. They don't want to be standing in line at a county office to complete a program, especially if it's not, an application for a program, especially if it's not one that they might benefit from. But they don't know that. So if you could take some of that uncertainty out of the process and head people in the right direction from the very beginning, we're doing a lot better with people's time, and that efficiency, saves time is money, as they say, right? So we're looking for ways that this technology can help cut costs in the next administration. And Tara, with that, I'd like you to put up the next polling question, which is, how do these technologies cut costs? What does the audience think? Is it through efficient processes, or is it about creating transparency in the way agencies operate, so we can maybe make good changes? Or do we just make better decisions because we understand the data better, because we can use the AI to churn through hundreds of documents to get us what the sentiment is and solve that problem, as opposed to all the problems, be more directed in our. So very interested to see what the responses are here. As that's happening, I want to turn to Brian. I want to turn back to you, and I'm wondering about when you're interacting with agencies, what are they thinking about relative to security and privacy requirements in these AI technologies? This can make or break the public's perception on government as a whole, and certainly these technologies' ability to help people.
Yeah. So first, I think I'll start off by saying, when we think about what conversations we may be having with other agencies, right, when they're thinking about getting a solution off of a contract vehicle, or maybe writing a statement of work or a statement of objectives to get a capability that involves AI. One scenario could be cybersecurity, right? Like, cybersecurity is kind of a double-edged sword in AI, because on one side, you could use AI capabilities to exploit vulnerabilities, but then on the other hand, you could use AI to enhance your cybersecurity operations at the agency. And so we kind of talk about those capabilities and think about, when it does those types of activities, like, what are some things you got to think about when you put in your contract? Like, when you find vulnerabilities, how's that information get shared, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're having the vendor, the supplier, develop that solution for you, who owns that data, right? And then when you think about, like, network
Not only who owns the data, let me just chime in. Where does the data come from?
Exactly, right?
How was the model trained? Who are the people that are inventing the algorithm, and what data are they using it? Is that driving hallucinations and the thing? Let me talk over you, but I hear that a lot. Well, please continue.
Yeah, no, I'm glad we're on the same page on that, because that's definitely a big question in mind, right? Is who, like, because I mean, when these vendors create your AI solution or whatever, they are going to be ingesting this new data based off the agency environment, right? Because it's a whole new environment that a vendor's going to get exposed to. They're going to get all these different insights, and so you have to kind of figure out, like, is this going to be a privacy issue? Is this information going to be, like, is it going to be in a category where it can be available to the public or to the vendor, or is it something that it has to be protected at all costs, right?
Yeah, and Noah, at DHS, you led off some of your remarks with this. Your focus on governance and creating these boards and being ahead on this. How do your governance boards tackle these privacy and security issues?
Yeah, I think we've started with making sure that the right folks are at the table to and having the right talent available to make sure that we're talking through these in a solutions sort of oriented way.
Who are the right people? I mean, that's I think an important question. How do we get the right people at the table, and who are they from your perspective?
Sure, we've made sure that our management team, our CIO team, making sure we have the IT technical folks, and we have our chief AI officer as well, that has a team that makes sure that they're present in each of those use case decisions. And then we also have our civil rights, civil liberties office and our privacy office there, so that professionals that are trained at the intersection of privacy and AI and civil rights and AI can also make sure we're there. And then would be remiss not to mention our OGC colleagues that are making sure that we're following the letter of the rules, both from Office of Management and Budget and the general acquisition rules, and and the additional level of elements that we've pulled together from across the AI ecosystem. And we think that that is really critical to making sure that we have the right discussion.
You're really describing the whole of the agency approach to this, which is, encouraging, because too often we think a technology sits in the office of the CIO exclusively. And you're really highlighting that it might be a technology, but it impacts the whole agency, and the whole agency has to be involved. All these leaders. So I think that that's a great, message for the audience that you just shared. I want to ask Tara to put the polling question back up, just to quickly demonstrate that there's a real efficiency opportunity with AI in the eyes of the audience. Almost 3/4 of people see AI creating more efficient processes, and I can't I can't disagree. It's a huge opportunity in the coming administration to use AI in the ways we've been describing here, to make it easier for people to interact with government, but also make it easier for the employees in agencies to get their jobs done. One thing that I've been hearing a lot about and talking about is this idea of AI agents that can be created without too much difficulty to do tasks, to drive efficiency in an agency, because the agents can be working on the back end. The agents, much like the RPA conversation that we had a little bit ago about, Rudolph was sharing that at USDA they're training people in these technologies. We can automate these things. The AI agents, it's beyond just how we think about RPA, because there is a quote unquote thoughtfulness behind how these agents operate, and they can complete tasks from end to end. And when we think about the way technology is evolving and where we are now, we have all these different technologies that we've acquired over time in our agents. Certainly, it was my case as a chief information officer, and too often we have these swivel chair interfaces. To get something done, I got to go from one system to the other. We have the ability, with this technology, to really drive efficiencies, as we're saying, by using agents to go across systems, to pull data together, to take a process end to end without having somebody involved. The people that did that work, there's plenty of work to be done in government, in my experience. They can be deployed in the non-mundane tasks, the ones that require real, human thinking. And we have these opportunities today, and more are coming. And the opportunity to really make the AI work from say north to south, through the front office to the back office and back, and say east to west across all the different technologies and systems. That's where we get, real value from this, and we drive the efficiencies that people are describing here. I want to talk a little bit more about the the way that we're going to roll these technologies out. We've talked about the employees. We've talked about the training. We've talked a little bit about privacy and security. But one area that I think we really need to talk about is how agencies work together and collaborate to be successful, not just at DHS, but across government. So I would really like to talk about the ways that the audience, they represent agencies, or yourselves, on the panel, are able to share what you're doing. And Nicholas, I'd like to start with you. Think about ways that you and NOAA is sharing some of these successes you've had. What are other ways that you can collaborate or encourage agencies to collaborate?
Sure. NOAA does an incredible amount of research, right? So a lot of our collaboration is with the private sector or universities, right? So we do have a lot of this collaboration in testing and developing some of the AI technology. I think we could do it better, right? I think that even when inside of an agency, we have a habit of recreating the wheel multiple times. Government-wide, we're kind of all doing the same things, and we're all trying to learn the same things. And it would be, more productive, I think, if we had a little bit more cross-agency sharing. What is DHS doing, and how could we leverage that what is GSA working on? How can we use that to maybe improve our procurement process? So it's definitely something we need to work on more, I think, for ourselves. But within the agency and within the bureaus, NOAA's bureaus, there is a lot of cross collaboration. Outside of that, I think we need to do more for ourselves as well.
Brian, GSA just came up, so let me ask you: how does your office facilitate collaboration, or GSA as a whole? You're one of these wonderful government-wide agencies. What's happening
Yeah,
there?
yeah, definitely. So just for example, like like another big topic today is also like post-quantum cryptography migration, which I know a lot of agencies are working on, right? And so and now it's like well, I wonder if AI kind of plays a role in that, or so we start reaching out to agencies and asking them, yeah, I know, hey, we know that you're doing PQC migration, and we've done our work to see if our contract vehicles can support that, but are you doing anything with AI in terms of PQC migration? And then that becomes like another like topic we have to go back and research, right? We're like, okay, our contract vehicles, we know they can support PQC migration, but do they now support PQC migration with AI capabilities? So that's a good conversation to have with agencies, because they always tell us how they're doing it, and then we get exposed to industry, of course, right? Industry is always telling us what's new out there and what they can do with these new technologies. And so being able to visit vendors, seeing their offerings, right, having them explain their capabilities, so that the government knowledge that we get, right, from talking to a lot of agencies kind of helps us better understand when we talk to the vendors what we think
I
they
think
need.
I think that's a really good point, because this collaboration's beyond what any one agency might know. It involves industry, academia, others. If we have audience members from industry, how do they get involved in this conversation? Do they reach out to you, or is there an
Yeah,
office at
definitely.
GSA?
Definitely reach out to our organization, the information technology category. Like it's kind of funny, like 50% of the time we're meeting with agencies, but the other 50% of the time we're meeting with industry, right? Because we need to understand both sides of the story, because we're trying to satisfy both sides, right? We have the technologies out there. There's suppliers who want to offer this great, awesome new technology that could bring value. And then there's agencies that want this technology, they want this value. And so we're kind of there to kind of help streamline that process, which is the acquisition.
Noah, I want to get your take on this first, but in a second. But Tara, put up the next or our final poll question, because it's all about value. As Brian was describing, what's the biggest challenge to getting value from AI? So as the audience is answering that, Noah, if you can share your perspective from DHS on this idea of working with other agencies and collaborating. You have a mission that touches so many other agencies outside of DHS, and obviously immigration is part of that. That's going to be the border is part of that. We know these are going to be areas of focus in the future. What's the perspective that you have?
Yeah, and I think our secretary says all the time that this is a department of partnerships. We have a lot of interagency task forces and boards, both internally. We've set up, our chief AI officer council to complement our CIO council, but we also have groups that bring in industry perspective, academia perspective, and civil society perspectives. We set up a AI safety and security board with the CEOs of the big AI labs and some of the big critical infrastructure companies. We also have our cybersecurity agency, CISA's critical infrastructure advisory boards that work along the AI vertical to make sure that we're getting industry feedback from the specific sectors that have different concerns depending on where they are and what perspective they bring to critical infrastructure. And we've got tremendous value out of the assessments, the reports, and also the programs that they've provided feedback on. And we think that's the way to remain really, really agile. And we've tried to publish, publicly as much of that as possible, and if not, distribute inside of the U.S. government. And we plan to continue to do that in the next year with a new set of AI risk assessments, a new set of playbooks for the AI pilots that we've run, as well as some guidance for operational technology and critical infrastructure systems, of which all government systems are included in.
It demonstrates the complexity of the mission that you touch, or that you're a part of. And Rudolph, USDA sometimes, I did work at USDA, and sometimes people think it's just farmers and ranchers, and obviously critically important. But USDA is one of these agencies that touches everybody, from the food safety to nutrition to our forests and others. So just beyond your mission area, 7 mission areas total with these different aspects, including academic research and and other. How do you collaborate within your department?
Well, that's a good question, and I know that from our CIO level, for example, Gary, his last name escapes me now. Anyway, our current CIO, I should say, is involved in the CIO council amongst agencies, and they meet regularly to discuss these kinds of issues, these all important government effective issues that are that are key to implementing. And they also bring in industry people from private industry, security people, or other application type people to discuss and get their feedback as well. And we host industry days as well, as you probably know, where where we bring in people from industry with their software and their applications or whatever they're trying to push forward. And we bring in people from all over and kind of get their best practices and find out what they may be able to offer us. So there is a lot of synergy amongst agencies, and within the agencies, of course, we have our agency chiefs in the different directive areas that are continually meeting with the CIO.
And it's great to know, and I'm really encouraged by by that. I love the Department of Agriculture, and to know that everyone is working together really makes me feel good about an agency I care deeply about. So Tara, can you put up the responses to the last poll question, please? So again, it seems like we have a lot of people who feel value challenges are it's broad-based, from costs to the data, which should note that more than half said data. We've already talked about the challenges around data, where it came from, the provenance, but the workforce is important, leadership is important. So I just note that to be successful, it's not just one area to focus on, from your employees to a leadership vision to the data to the cost. All of having the funding, all of these things are important to be successful in this. And we only have a few minutes left, and I want to give everybody a chance to share some final thoughts. We covered a lot of topics today, and Nicholas, I'm going to start with you. What's one thing you want to make sure that the agency, that our audience remembers coming from this podcast, based on the things we talked about in your experience at NOAA?
I mean, I think one of the best things you could do to be flexible and agile is just to start using it as much as you can in your daily life. Try to see what you can get out of it. Learn how the simple prompts work. Try it in how your day-to-day operations go. A lot of these tools, ChatGPT, you can turn off the feature, like I know Brian mentioned, but you can turn off the feature to stop the AI tool from capturing what you're adding. Don't use obviously non-public data in doing this, but you can start to kind of find ways to increase productivity or help with designing some opportunity for you guys to use it to increase productivity in your agencies.
Thank you, Nicholas. Noah, final thoughts.
Puts up everything that was just said, and would add that if you're a person that is naturally curious or a person that likes thinking deeply or critically about things, you shouldn't have a problem. Once these things are fielded at the application layer, they try to make it really accessible to as many folks as possible, and curiosity is the most important ingredient, as well as time spent with the new technologies. And so don't be afraid of the unknown, but it's something to embrace and learn how to apply, and it's pretty fun to learn too.
So we have be flexible, experiment on your own. Brian, what would you add?
Yeah, for me, I'd say realize that everybody has a role. As a technical person, right, we like to do all that technical stuff, learn the large language models, and get really technical terms. But when you actually go to buyer, you got to work with the acquisition workforce. And so I think the contracting officers, the contracting officer representatives, they have a really huge role in acquiring AI, and they have their own learning track, you could say, right? Where they definitely know stuff that I don't know about AI in that aspect, and that's you need that collaboration with them and us, with the technical folks and with the action folks to really create.
Right on. This idea of collaboration and agency-wide efforts come up a few times. So let's make sure we don't think about this just as an action for a IT professional. This is government agency-wide, government-wide kind of thing. And Rudolph, last you get the final thought from the panelists on what's a takeaway for our audience today.
My takeaway is that we definitely need to appeal to the younger generations, the people out of school, the people that are just starting their careers, because traditionally USDA is kind of a middle-aged kind of, nothing wrong with that at all, but we're kind of a top-heavy agency in terms of experience. We need to bring in more people from the interest of learning about these technologies who can bring it in and appeal to them, because there are a lot of them are going to private industry. They can provide them more exciting offers of jobs or whatever. But I think education, training, and trying to appeal to a younger audience is very important.
So I think that goes to this idea of inclusivity. It's not just, across the agency, but, it's people of all backgrounds and all levels of experience, which, I think it's a great way to end this conversation. And, this is all in a quest to get value out of, and make government better and make it more efficient for people who work in government and support the public. And, from a value perspective, if we don't understand what we're trying to accomplish, we don't know what the processes are today, we can't think about ways to do it better. Maybe the AI can help, but if we don't understand what it looks like today, it's very hard to demonstrate how we've made it better. So I'd encourage everybody, if you're thinking about these systems and you're thinking about these opportunities, really consider what you're trying to improve and how you might be able to show that to everyone who's going to be watching as we move forward as a federal IT community and government community. And I think this is just a tremendous opportunity for the government. We're able to drive greater efficiency. We can create transparency into agency processes, I'm sure. And I know we can increase confidence in the way we make decisions. And, those are the things that really transform government. So I want to thank Nicholas, Noah, Brian, and Rudolph for you being here today. I appreciate the work that you all do in your agencies. You serve great missions, and I know that you guys are making a difference. And I can tell just by the quality of the great discussion we had. And I think everybody in the audience learned a lot today. So everyone in the audience, thank you for listening. I want to thank everyone at ATARC and ServiceNow that helped to make this webinar possible, especially my colleague, Leah Maltz, who was key to this event today. So thank you all. I look forward to continuing this conversation with everyone here very soon. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks all.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.